Every now and then, one of our viewers who's conducting even further research, and man, does that warm our hearts, will send us some great finds. This is one such discovery. A 15-year study from the Field Museum in Chicago, partnered with the Philippines, that will blow your mind. It certainly did ours. This comes from Tats Talentino, who found this as a Facebook post on Philippines Biodiversity Conservation Foundation's Facebook. And they had posted this press release from the Field Museum in Chicago. And it is monumental. This is a release, again, from the Field Museum in Chicago itself. And we do not recall it being picked up on the news, really, other than to politically attempt to make the point that there are endangered species in the Philippines. Yet missing the point, especially from the likes of ABS-CBN. Why not just run this press release, in fact, as well? We didn't really see it anywhere. Well, maybe they did, but we have yet to find it, and we have been looking for something like this everywhere. Thank you, Tats. A quick review and context first. And if you are not aware of our findings in Solomon's Gold series, this will somewhat bring you up to speed, though you will never really get it until you watch that series of massive, abundant, overwhelming evidence proving the Philippines is the ancient land of gold in all of history and the land of creation. And yes, it matters because that land is in prophecy many times, and you will finally know what's going on, what has happened, and what the future of the Philippines especially is, as well as the whole world. No one will understand prophecy without understanding these things. Now, no, we don't claim that. We prove it. Check it out. See, there was a great flood, well proven by science, regardless of how one, which is to change the obvious, wishes to ignore that marine fossils are found on every mountain range on Earth. Yes, we are aware of the claims that the mountains rose up out of the sea. But even when you look into that theory, it's only a theory, by the way, and actually never proven, nor can it ever be proven, because there's actually zero support for it. But even in that theory, it took millions of years for these mountains to rise out of the sea. Now, just what sea did Mount Everest rise out of? It's in the middle of a continent. Are you telling me the whole continent rose out of the sea? Ridiculous. Not scientific in the slightest. And that theory does not say that this happened during the flood, nor could it. It takes millions of years. Some try to inject that, but if the Earth had such movement that quickly, there's little to discuss, as we're all dead, and no, there is not enough time to evolve from any supposed previous species scientifically at all. So, if we want to track the origin of life, we don't try to find old bones of humans and animals which rebooted at the time of the flood. No. You track the species that was not wiped out by the flood, because their populations can be tracked and followed, and that is where you will find the very origin, ground zero of life. Everything that was on the ark rebooted. It is marine life that was not wiped out. It is the measure to track creation. Find the most diverse marine population and you have found the origin of life. And that just happens to be the Sulu-Sulawesi seascape in the Philippines. And very specifically, it narrows down to the Verde Island Passage between Mindoro and Batangas, just south of Luzon. This is the center of marine biodiversity, according to one marine biology journal after the other, reported on TV stations and newspapers all over the world for over a decade now. This has never been challenged in the slightest coherently. In fact, if you even look at overall biodiversity of all species and plants, data was released prior to this discovery in the Philippines of the most biodiverse countries on Earth. What is deceiving about such a report, though, is that the Philippines is only 300,000 square kilometers in size. And they will take that and compare it to nations that are over 30 times larger in size. Yet it still ranks with them. And again, that was also before several finds, such as this find of all of this marine biodiversity was identified, and before the acquisition of the Benham Rise, now called the Philippine Rise, in 2017, which was not considered part of the Philippines prior, therefore not in this study, which the data is really all the way from 1998. No matter, though, the Philippines is still very high on the list, much higher than it should be, being 300,000 square kilometers. It is ridiculous when you really compare this truly apples to apples. It blows away these other nations. Let's see. We'll get to the article next, but first, according to a study by Conservation International, again, this data is from 1998, and interpreted in reports by World Atlas, Rank Red, and many others. As, and it's reported, you can find this all over the place, the top 17 most biodiverse nations. And at the very top is Brazil at number 1, due to the Amazon rainforest, of course, which makes sense, no problems there. However, in an apples to apples comparison, especially using size, the Philippines is ranked number 5 on this same list. Far, far smaller in size, yet still ranks with this large nation in vast territory. Brazil is 28 times larger than the Philippines, yet the Philippines is not far behind in overall biodiversity. And again, this is before the marine biodiversity discoveries. Wow. Of course, these are older numbers, and we'll get to the latest article next. Then, in Colombia, also the Amazon, ranks number 2, yet it is also 4 times larger in size than the Philippines, and the Philippines still ranks with it. Number 3 is the US, but it is 32 times larger than the Philippines in area, which is just behind it in biodiversity, yet still, that's not exactly a comparison. Per square kilometer, the Philippines crushes it, and all of these really. Then, just above the Philippines, once again, South Africa. But again, it's 4 times larger in size, in area, of the Philippines. Yet, right next to it in biodiversity, just as it is in untapped gold deposits in the ground today, according to Forbes magazine, New York Times, NASA, the mining companies, the Fraser Institute, and many, 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 many others who have all reported the same over the last 10 or so years. South Africa is number 1 in gold deposits untapped in the ground, and Philippines, little old Philippines, is number 2. However, in history, the Philippines has been mining gold, documented, for over 3,000 years in a gold rush. South Africa, a little over 100. Thus, the Philippines is the leader in gold, period, as well as biodiversity, you'll see. In fact, if you look at the larger region of Southeast Asian islands, Philippines is number 5. Papua New Guinea, number 6. Malaysia, number 7. 3 in a row there, near the top. And all similar-sized areas. These are all small, about 300,000 square kilometer areas, yet very diverse. And in the same neighborhood as Indonesia, which is about 6 times larger as either of those. But it's number 10. So it's further behind. Why? Because you're getting further away from the epicenter. What's that? The Philippines. See? Now, thus, in this area, the Philippines is the epicenter. And on Earth, this area is actually the epicenter for marine biodiversity as well as general overall biodiversity. Pound for pound, kilometer for kilometer. There really is no comparison. Brazil and Colombia are still, when you add all of these areas up, all of these islands in Southeast Asia, they're still 10 times greater in size, in area, than this region. And so is the U.S. about the same. So again, those are not apples to apples comparisons, or shall we say, lanzones to lanzones, are they? In fact, here are all the top 17 leaders in overall biodiversity on Earth, according to Conservation International. Notice, 7 of the 17 are all in Southeast Asia, or the Orient, which really should be reported as an area, not all of Asia, which is so different. This makes the Orient the actual leader in biodiversity when you look at the numbers and the data. Now, many think Africa leads, but no, it doesn't. In fact, it's number 3, in fact. So even though it is the largest continent or so, or among them when you look at it that way. So now, let's get to the 15-year study. From the Field Museum in Chicago, again, thank you, Tats. Released 2016, yet overlooked generally. At least we weren't able to find it in all of our research over the last 5 years, so we didn't see it. World's greatest concentration of unique mammal species is on Philippine Island. Which one? Luzon, specifically. Where is the world's greatest concentration of unique species of mammals? A team of American and Filipino authors have concluded that it is Luzon Island in the Philippines. Their 15-year project, summarized in a paper published in the scientific journal Frontiers of Biogeography, has shown that out of 56 species of non-flying mammal species that are now known to live on the island, 52 live nowhere else in the world. Wow! Of those 56 species, 28 were discovered during the course of the project. 19 of the species have been formally described in scientific journals, and 9 are currently in the works. These are their words, not ours. 52 species not even found anywhere else in the world? Wow! And they are just now discovering 28 of these? Man, this is amazing. This should have been all over the news, and maybe it was and we missed it. I guess that's possible. Ever wonder why the world of science has all but ignored the Philippines for so long? We started our study on Luzon in 2000 because we knew at the time that most of the native mammal species on the island were unique to the island. And we wanted to understand why this is the case. Well, they probably were brought by Ophir, Sheba, and Tarshish. Ooh, how about that? We did not expect that we would double the number already known, said Lawrence Heaney, the project's leader, who is the Nugani, however you say that, curator of mammals at the Field Museum in Chicago. Reading further, according to the authors, Luzon has never been connected to any continental land. Wait a minute, you mean there weren't any land bridges? No, that's been disproven. They're still teaching that, but it's not true. It never happened. The species have been isolated, like the animals that live in Hawaii. Makes sense. But Luzon is much larger, and at least 5 times older than the oldest island in Hawaii. and so has had time for the few species that arrived from the Asian mainland, except for they don't exist on the Asian mainland, to evolve and diversify greatly. Also, they evolved. Well, how long does it take to evolve? A lot longer than these species have been around. So that is bogus. They just insert that into articles about science everywhere they can. I think they get special points for that, or maybe even some extra money. Who knows? On islands, scientists sometimes see a sped up version of evolution. Whoa, 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 whoa. What? That evolution can speed up? Is that a fact? Is there a button that you push for that? Because I'd like to see that. Is there one for de-evolution too? Because it seems that all species have lost information, not gained. So do we have a button to cause something to de-evolve? There's a thought. When animals are closed off from the rest of the world, that's ludicrous, never proven. They know nothing when it comes to that. Even Darwin's finches, so-called evolved into, in a sped-up way, finches. They're still finches. They didn't evolve at all. They just had adaptations. Very normal in the common record, the fossil record. We see adaptations. We never, ever, ever, ever have seen one case of evolution in all of history. So, the rest of the world, in places where there are few or no predators or competitors, they're able to branch out into special adaptations. Of course, I guess the crocodile's not a predator. There are plenty of predators in the Philippines, so to say that there aren't, that's ridiculous. But anyway, eventually forming new species. And not only is the island of Luzon isolated, certainly, but it's covered in mountains, no doubt. The mountain tops form what scientists call sky islands. That's because during the flood, they were all underwater and really became the first land seen, maybe. Anyway, no, they don't believe that. But little pockets of distinctive habitat that the animals further adapt to. The animals are isolated high on the scattered mountains, so they inevitably diverge. Given enough time, you begin to see huge biodiversity explained healing. In the process of trying to understand how that happens, we doubled the number of known species on Luzon. Now, what's funny about this is, okay, so they're saying that they found all these new species, basically doubling the number, but of course they were already there. It has nothing to do with evolution. And is Luzon Island the only island on Earth? No. It's not even the only island in the Philippines. There's over 7,000. So why does it stand out? This doesn't explain any of that. There must be more to the story, and there is. Among the 28 new species discovered by the team are 4 species of tiny tree mice with whiskers so long they reach nearly to their ankles, and 5 species of mice that look like shrews and feed primarily on earthworms. Most of the new species live in tropical cloud forest high in the mountains, where frequent typhoons can drop 4 or 5 meters, 12 to 15 feet of rain per year. Indeed, all 28 of the species we discovered during the project are members of 2 branches on the Tree of Life that are confined to the Philippines. So they only live in the Philippines. According to Eric Reichert, a team member who is based at the Natural History Museum of Utah. There are individual mountains on Luzon that have 5 species of mammals that live nowhere else. That's more unique species on one mountain than live in any country in continental Europe. Wow. This is monumental in find, and yet way underreported from what we've been seeing. Let's finish. The concentration of unique biodiversity in the Philippines is really staggering. Wow. Right. Staggering. And yet, crickets. Well, not anymore. Luzon also supports 57 species of bats. Most live in the hot, humid lowlands. These include the golden crown flying fox. By the way, the first part of this report is touting that they mostly live in the mountains, and then they're trying to take that and justify evolution, yet there's plenty of species that do not live in the mountains. So, which is one of the heaviest bats in the world at up to 2.5 pounds. Another, the lesser flat-headed bat, is so tiny that it can roost inside the hollow spaces inside bamboo stems. That's pretty cool. We also wanted to learn more about the conservation status of these wonderful animals, said Danny Bellete, a research associate at the Field Museum who is based in the Philippines. The Philippines is one of the most heavily deforested countries in the tropics. I wonder if that's actually true. Only about 7% of the old-growth tropical forest is left. Interesting. We learned that quite a few of the species are seriously threatened by habitat loss and overhunting, but none are yet extinct. Luzon has a human population of about 50 million, including about 23 million in Greater Manila. The country's capital, which if you see that's about half of the entire population of the island, lives in Manila, which means the rest of the island is not so populated. Not really a bad thing. But anyway, protecting all of these species from extinction is going to be a big challenge. The good news is that when the native forest is allowed to regenerate, the native mammals move back in and the pest rats get kicked out. Well, we're all for conservation, so no problem with that. Other co-authors of the paper are based at the University of the Philippines, the University of Minnesota, and Florida State University. Heaney, Bellete, and Reichert are also authors of a book about the mammals of Luzon Island, just published by Johns Hopkins University Press, that will be used in the Philippines as a college-level textbook. Yes, but will they use the interpretations properly? That is the question, my friends. The team works closely with conservation organizations and the Philippine government, and many of their recommendations regarding expanded and new national parks have been adopted. Good. Learning about the tremendous diversity of mammal species present on Luzon is crucial to conservation efforts, explained Heaney. Well, you know what it's also crucial to? Proving the location of Ground Zero, the land of creation, which we have. In order to be effective at conserving an environment, we have to know what's out there. Indeed, we have no issue with that. However, look at what gets overlooked in this article and most in the Philippines. No one, and I mean no one, is out there really looking into what is its true history. Where did it come from? Is the Philippines more significant than we're being told? And we prove it is. Along the same lines, we see this full picture coming into view, even regarding where the Ark landed. In our flood series, we also covered a map of animal species concentrations, which you see on screen around the world, showing a large pocket in this very same region of Southeast Asia, this according to Tel Aviv University. And here's another, also global diversity for vascular plants, and it follows the same pattern. The Orient is the large epicenter for biodiversity. Marine biodiversity, indeed, as proven 100%, and something that cannot be doubted. But also diversity in general for land animals and plants. How about that? Why? Well, because the Ark landed in that area, in the Orient, in the Himalayas, in fact, not Turkey, which is insignificant in these patterns. Just look at the map. Yet it should not be if the Ark landed there. There should be a plethora of species, and there is not. Noah's descendants arrived at Shinar, modern Iraq, from the east, according to Scripture, not the northwest. Turkey is out in every way. They are looking at the wrong mountain. Watch Where Did the Ark Land in our flood series for details on that. And we found over multiple videos as we tested the resources of Genesis 2 from the writings of Moses. The land of Eve, or Havah, that's her Hebrew name. She's not Eve, that's a bad transliteration. I don't know why they would transliterate a word where all the letters exist in modern English and the other languages throughout in which it's been interpreted. So why would they change the name? Because that's what they did. Named Havilah. Ooh, wait, it's the same word. And Havilah varies Eve, Havah, to mean labor in childbirth in Hebrew. Thus, Eve's land, after the Garden of Eden, bearing her name with her curse, which Jubilees calls this land the very land, ground zero, of creation. This land is defined by three resources, which we can find, and we did, according to Moses. It's right there, been there for thousands of years. And only one nation on earth rises to the top yet again. Gold, Philippines, number one in all of history. Pearl or bdellium, and yes, it's pearl, not African resin, which is not even solely African, by the way, but also found in the Philippines, especially. And the largest pearls on all of Earth, since such records have been kept, the Philippines. Number one, number two, number three, number four, number five, number six, number seven, number eight. Keep going down the list. You will never find any other nation on all of Earth ever in the record, period. And finally, the onyx stone, or same family as marble. And with ancient applications, even in Egypt, they called it alabaster. It's been tested. It is onyx stone, or marble and onyx. And the very strongest onyx and marble on all of Earth is not found in Italy, but Romblon, Philippines. No one can fudge this ancient reference to fit anyplace else. The Philippines is the land of creation, and now you have yet another article in further proof, as well as a full vetting of science. So yet another proof that the Philippines is the ancient land of gold, known in the time of Adam as Havilah, where he lived. Where Noah built the ark, and the ark landed over in the Himalayas, not in Turkey, which is 12,000 feet too short, in the wrong direction, a standalone mountain, when it must be mountains, with an S, of Ararat, not Mount Ararat. It is also a standalone volcano, and the closest mountains are 250 plus kilometers away. Therefore, Noah would not have seen the other mountaintops as the flood receded, as Scripture says he did. So either Scripture is true or it's not. The wrong name for this mountain, and a mountain known in the Book of Enki, a Sumerian occult writing, as the landing site for the Nephilim ark, bearing a demigod Nephilim giant, not Noah. When will scholars ever look into the origins of these tales? When will they lead to the occult instead of actually reading the Bible? It doesn't make sense. Throw them out. They try to fit creation into Mesopotamia. But what are they doing? They're fitting the birthplace of the occult and the occult narrative of creation, not the biblical one. They screw up this mountain. They lost the land of gold and the land of creation, which we've been able to relocate. Now we know where it is, which was known all the way up until about 100 years ago. They lost the name of God, which is recorded in the Hebrew Bible and even in the Dead Sea Scrolls at the time of Messiah, and even after. In the Pharisee period even, there are writings with YHWH, yet the Pharisees, forgot the name of God. It's in the Bible 6,800 plus times. There is just so much that we all must test all things, my friends. And that includes everything we teach, as well as we are all to prove all things, hold fast to that which is good. 1 Thessalonians 5:21. Thank you for watching Solomon's Gold series and our 100 Clues the Philippines is Ophir. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to click the bell. Share this video with others. Friend us on Facebook at The God Culture _space original. And check out our website at thegodculture.com. Our email is thegodculture@gmail.com, and we are scheduling conferences now in the Philippines for 2020. We just need hosts, so contact us and volunteer. Keep your eyes out for an announcement on book details coming very soon. Thank you all for your prayers, comments, encouragement, and support in every way, especially those on Patreon who have been faithful. This has made a tremendous difference, and we have reached so many in the past year and look forward to the next. We have some private events coming as well we cannot announce, but we are so humbled and overwhelmed, and we love you all. Yahuwah bless all.